20 Ray. If you guys hear me, just leave me a 1 in the comment section. Leave me a 1 in the comment section if you guys can actually hear me. Just want to make sure the tech is working. Perfect. My man BMC says a 1. Wonderful. We're good. Sorry for the delay, guys. I'm in the back room talking to my guests. I go hit a button and my setup ain't working. Like, man, what's going on? Let me do a restart. It's always tech issues. But that's what happens. We deal with them and we go forward. Come on in, guys. It's gonna be a good show. It's gonna be a good show. I'm excited about all shows, but I'm super excited about this one. Let me turn my Discord off. All that noise. Corey, good to see you, brother. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Come on into the show this morning. We're going to have a good one. We are going to have a good one. I'm making sure all the links are working, and it looks like they are. Welcome to another Black Heights morning, Saturday morning show. It is October the 15th. Another half of the month is already gone, guys. Another half of the month is already gone. We are in October. We are in Q4 of the year. The question is, what are you going to be doing in Q4 that's going to help you in Q1 next year? What are you going to get done in Q4 that's going to help you in Q1 of next year? What are you going to do today that's going to help you tomorrow? That's the question that I have for you guys. We're going to have a good show today. Guys, we've had a tremendous amount of success over the last year, and I'm not going to highlight all of it, but I want to highlight something that I highlighted on a Tuesday show that we did earlier this week. We've had 2 more ladder climbers enter the tech sales market from other areas that they were in. One was a high school teacher. That is right, a high school teacher in Houston. He broke into tech sales following the Black Heights plan, following course careers, and now he's making more money than he was as a high school teacher. And now he has a ceiling to make 20 times more money than he could ever have in education. Okay. Not only that, we have another gentleman who was a data analyst and said, Antoine, I want to have a ceiling that's higher than what data analysts can get paid. And I know that ultimately a role in tech sales is going to help me get there. Not only that, I want to become an entrepreneur in life. So why not learn the lifelong skills to help me get there? And why not get to the money to help accelerate my journey into that path? He made the transition from data analytics to tech sales, working for a data analytics company. Data analytics, tech sales for a data analytics company. That's the cool thing about transitioning your career. You can go from something like education, transition into tech sales that sells educational software. You can go from supply chain in a warehouse to tech sales to selling supply chain software where you have industry experience. And these are all transitions that people are making in their career working with the Black Heights community. So guys, join the Patreon. Join the Patreon. If you need a coaching session, www.blkheights.com. Check out Master I.T. if you want to break into IT. Check out Course Careers if you want to break into tech sales. All information is in the video description. And not only that, Ms. Wade is going to post links to these in the chat. Okay. So one-stop shop, Master I.T. Get into IT, get your certifications, get to the bag. Okay. If you want to get into tech sales, check out Course Careers. Entry level to get you into tech sales. It's a way for you can transition, the way that you can transition. And not only that, a lot of people is having success. Our brother Jason, data analytics, tech sales, working for a data analytics company. Brother Cameron, high school teacher, tech sales, selling other technology. So a tremendous amount of success is happening right now in the Black Heights community. And we have brother Earl, who just leveled up into another tech sales role, going to be in an office in Washington, D.C. this week. A lot of success is happening in the tech sales world, not just tech sales, but also in data analytics, in engineering, in cybersecurity. Our brother Malik just got showcased into his company's blog for the amount of success he's had early within his career. Our brother Gray down in Florida at PwC, he's on his way to the manager position. Our brother Anthony, he's applying for a manager position. These are all successes that the ladder climbers are having. So become part of the community. Become a ladder climber. Help yourself to transition. Do something for yourself in the fourth quarter that's going to help you in Q1. We don't know what the economy is going to look like next year. And I'm going to tell you like this, it may not look good. Right now, CEOs are already saying that they're going to be making reductions in the workforce. The Fed has already continued to jack up rates. What is that going to do? It's going to squeeze the economy. It's going to be higher numbers of unemployment. You need to secure the bag. You need to secure a position where you're not going to be at risk. Many of you are doing forklift driving. Many of you doing UPS driving trucks, doing things that you don't want to do. Maybe you want to transition from out of legal work. Maybe you want to transition from out of doing accounting. Whatever it is, there's a place for you in technology, and that's what we're helping people to get into. Now, I'm in technology sales, where the money is, and I'm sharing that with a lot of people so they can get to the money as well, too. And in today's show, what we're going to do is we're going to talk to a good brother of ours who made the transition from car sales to tech sales, selling car technology, right? Car sales to tech sales, selling technology in the automotive space. And he's going to share his story of how he was able to break into tech, in the things that he's learned along the way. And I want you guys to take notes on this, because this could be you. And you don't necessarily have to be in the car sales world. You can be in any sort of world. But if you apply the principles that Akira is going to be talking about today, you can break into tech. You can break into tech. So guys, I'm excited about the show today. Guys, let me do a quick shout out to the folks who are here. Brother BMC is in the house. Corey Ree is in the house. Miss Wade is in the house. The UK Investor is in the house. Don Music's in the house. One Nightstand, good morning to you. Richard is in the house. Damien, Big Brother, is in the house. Right? Take action, guys. Take action. Join the Patreon. Sign up for Course Career. Sign up for Master I.T. Sign up for coaching. Do something that's going to help yourself tomorrow. Do something that's going to help yourself in Q1, Q2 next year. Okay? Guys, now that I've opened it up and set the stage, I want to introduce, or I want my guest to come on to the show to introduce himself. And we are going to dive right into it, guys. We are going to dive right into it. I'm going to tell you like this. I've been excited about this one because this brother came to me in earlier this year. Maybe it was late last year, but I think it was earlier this year. And he said, Antoine, you know what? I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to trust the process. And is there a place for me in tech? I said, give me your background. Share this background with me. He's going to share with you guys. And I thought highly of him. I'm like, oh, this is going to be an easy transition for you. It's going to be an easy transition for you. Now, I know me saying things that are easy is, for some people, it's hard. And don't get me wrong, it was hard, right? It took work. Now, what's hard are things that help you grow. What's hard are things that you have to force to learn. You have to put yourself in positions to, if you really want to make a transition into things like tech sales or other fields, you have to put your head down and learn. And that's what this gentleman did. He put his head down. He learned. He said, Antoine, I'm going to be the best student at this. And I knew it. He had the mentality from day one. He came on and he was like, you know what? I was like, give me your background. He was like, you know what? I was a quarterback. I was like, oh, shit, this is going to be easy for you. And that's what I mean by easy, right? It's like easy. The mentality. If you have a mentality to do the work and you know that you're going to get if you do the work, you're going to get the outcome. So without further ado, I want to bring on good brother, good friend, brother Akira Brown. Good morning, sir. How are you, man?
Good morning. I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Akira, I talked you up just now. I've been waiting for this show. You and I have been chatting in the back for quite some time. Tell everybody a little bit about Akira. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience, my man.
Yeah, so I'm Akira. Like Antoine said, I started off in car sales, and I was in car sales before I made my transition. Come from a very humble background, a great loving family, very supportive. My mom and dad made sure myself and my siblings understood, hard work and being humble and treating others like you want to be treated. So those characteristics definitely helped me throughout my whole life and getting to where I wanted to be. Definitely.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's wonderful, man. That's a good introduction, a humble man. And that's how Akira is, right? He came in, he was really humble. And one of the things that when we went through our discussion, I was like, Akira, you're humble, but when you're in sales, you're going to have to sell yourself. You're going to have to sell yourself. So give us some more. Akira, tell us a little bit more about your background, how you grew up, sports you played, what you went to school, where you went to school, where you're from, and then and let's talk about your professional journey. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. All right. So started off in Texas, spent most of my childhood in Houston, Texas. My parents made sure I was involved in sports. Also, made sure I was in academia as well. I participated in all type of science fairs. Actually played chess. Started to play chess at a young age, so that started to develop my solid decision making. And I encourage anybody, if you wanted to brush up on decision making, go ahead and start playing chess. It's very beneficial.
Mm.
So won a lot of tournaments when I was younger, thanks to my parents. After that, we moved to Georgia, spent middle school and high school in Georgia. That's when I started playing football around sixth grade. Started off playing running back, but my dad told me, "Hey, go ahead, and try to play quarterback. You could develop a lot of great characteristics and skills that can help you throughout your life, and particularly leadership skills." So I
Mm.
believed in him, went that route, and it has definitely paid off for me quite a bit. That took me through high school. Graduated, played college football, went to three different schools, just trying to find the best program that would match, what I brought to the table. Graduated, wasn't too sure where I wanted to go professionally, but I always had that sales aspect in me. I'm naturally an introvert, but I bring that extrovert out when I need to. So I had to sell myself to the college coaches. So I was like, let me go ahead and continue to do this. So after I graduated, I started a personal training business.
Mm.
Did that for a little while. Generated a nice amount of sales in Houston. Then continued my career. Did substitute teaching, learned a lot of great things from that. How to work as a team, how to control a crowd, even though the crowd might have been younger people, but learn how to control a crowd. Then after that, I did a lot of waiter work as well, a lot of different restaurants. Learned a lot of great things. Learned how to deal with all different types of people. Learn how to stay even keel, regardless of what's going on, regardless of how fast paced the environment is. That's another thing I learned from football as well. And then after that, made my transition into automotive sales. Wasn't on my radar at all. Didn't know which route I wanted to take career wise, but kind of stumbled upon it and stuck with it for about 5 years. And then made it into management. And after the pandemic, realized that, hey, the car industry doesn't seem as solid as everybody thought it was.
Mm.
Nobody foresaw the pandemic to happen. So after that, I was like, hey, let me start looking at career choices that could take me, the long term.
Mm.
So thought about tech sales. My dad brought it to my attention. Then I ran across your YouTube page, reached out to you, and hey, that's it. Made my transition, and I can't thank you enough.
Man, I I love that, Akira. I absolutely love that, man. I love that. I will tell you this, man. We're going to unpack a lot that you said because you did a lot of stuff, Akira. Right? You did a lot of stuff throughout your career. From personal training, right, to waiter work, right, to car sales, and
Oh.
other things as well too. And you learned a lot along that journey. But before we go to your professional journey, all right, let's talk about football, right? Obviously, that was a huge part of your story growing up, and
Yeah.
you getting to the quarterback level. Tell us about, obviously, some of the skills that you had to learn and develop as a quarterback.
Number one would be trust,
Mm.
because playing the quarterback position, you have to trust your teammates and particularly your O line.
Mm.
Because once you get the ball, you drop back, you have to focus on other things and just trust that the people in front of you are going to make the right choices and decisions to make sure you stay protected because you're very vulnerable back
Mm.
there because
Mm.
you have all different type of things that could come at you and knock you. Basically, they're trying to knock your head off. Basically. So, so I trust is a big thing. Also, being able to make quick decisions.
Mm.
The defense could throw all different type of things at you. They could send a blitz. A lot of people could be running at you at one time. You have to calm yourself down and make the right decisions so you could continue to march down the field and score. So
Mm.
that's another thing. And having a great work ethic. Being a quarterback, you have to constantly work on your skill set,
Mm.
constantly.
Mm.
It's not something that you could just take for granted. So those that are very successful quarterbacks, they have invested a lot in their craft.
Mm.
And another thing I would say is just being a student of the game,
Mm.
and that transition into my personal career. I understand that being successful, you have to invest that time into whatever you're doing in order to be successful. So those are a lot of things I learned throughout playing football and playing quarterback in particular.
Even at a young age, you gain and develop those skills. So,
Yeah.
ultimately, it was really, you gain those skills, and now, after football, you applied those same principles into a career because it's the exact same things that help you within your career to develop and be the best as well. One of the things that you said, okay, Ray, was you had to sell yourself. You had to sell
Yeah.
yourself to football, to college coaches. Talk about the importance of knowing how to sell yourself.
Very important, especially if you're not a superstar, you don't have the spotlight on you. That's one thing. I wasn't like a 5-star athlete coming out of high school. I was a good athlete. I was under the radar, so not only my highlight tape and my game film spoke for myself, but I had to speak myself up as well. So
Mm,
when contacting coaches or when coaches contacted me, it wasn't like a for sure thing, like a
mm,
5-star athlete. When you're a 5-star athlete, everybody's lined up at your door.
yeah,
You don't have to sell yourself. The coaches are selling their program and themselves to you at that point. But it was a complete opposite for me. So I had to sell myself. And the importance of that is just having that confidence,
mm,
and what you say can make or break your future.
mm.
So you have to be very meticulous. You have to just really focus on what you want the outcome to be, and just execute basically.
I
So
love that.
that's one thing. Just being confident, knowing what you could bring to the table, and making sure you could articulate what you could bring to the table.
I love it. I love it because that is something that is very important into making the transition into sales as well that we're going to hit on. So you talked about college because something that we talk about on this channel as well too is college. You played football in
Yeah,
college. What did you
yeah.
major in college, and what did you graduate with in college?
So I majored in communications
Mhm.
with a minor in psychology.
Got it.
So yeah, graduated with about a 3.0. The again that whole experience was pretty interesting because I had to juggle multiple things at once, which really helped me prepare for the tech sales career. Honestly, because being a college athlete, not only do you just go to school like a regular student, but the uh, you have to keep a certain level of academia up, so
Mm,
you can't fall below a certain grade point average, or you'll be suspended from the team. Had to attend all type of film study, especially playing quarterback. Had workouts in the morning, had film study. So doing all these things and game preparation. So doing all these things was something that I had to juggle, and I was successful with. And like I said, that just prepared me for my tech sales career.
wonderful, wonderful. No, that's wonderful, man. So talk about this, right? Trying to find your place outside of college. You graduated college, you got the communications psychology degree. You chose those degrees, right? And I'm assuming you chose those degrees
Yeah.
because they were degrees that, were complimented you as being a student athlete as well. Wasn't too difficult, wasn't too hard, but what was the plan after college, right? You got those degrees. What was the plan after college? Did you think about your career after college or while you was in college? What did you have in mind that you would be doing after college? Okay, right.
To be honest, I was just like a lot of college athletes. I wasn't really preparing for my future,
Mm,
professionally, because it just wasn't something that was on my radar.
mm,
I was really focused on the now, and really was trying to hope and invest in, or maybe having a professional career outside of college.
mm.
So when I graduated and realized that wasn't going to happen, I was like, okay, it's time to, really hit the pavement and start grinding. So like I said, I started off with the personal training business. Was always an entrepreneur, even when I was a little kid. I was a kid that was cutting grass, knocking on doors, pet sitting, doing all type of things like that. So I always had an entrepreneur spirit. So that was the first thing I fell back on when I graduated college. And like my dad, he's an IT professional been in the IT space for 20 plus years, and speaking to him and a lot of his buddies, tech was always the place to go and the route to go. But I never saw myself investing all that time and getting certified and so on and so forth.
Mm.
So, when I found out about tech sales, I was like, hey, it's a no brainer. So, but I mean, just going reiterating back on the fact that I really didn't know what was going to happen once I graduated college. So everything just kind of organically worked out for me.
Good, good. No, that's wonderful. So that's wonderful that you said you had the entrepreneurship mindset. A lot of people who go into sales, that's the mindset that they have. Ultimately, they want to run their own business. They want to run their own show. They want to, learn the skills that they need in order for them to go out and do something on their own. And I think if that is of interest to, people who are watching this show today, consider a career in sales. So you did the personal fitness journey. Then you started to do, you said waiting and staff, a bartending, waiting. Talk about your transition after, the personal training career.
So after personal training, I dibble and dabbled in a lot of different things, and particularly being a waiter. So very, very humble experience. And that's another thing outside of playing chess. I would advise people to, if you're starting off in your career, to try to get into some type of waiting or bartending or something like that, because it's a very humble experience. And it's something that you can reflect back on and be like, hey, if I did that, I could do anything. Because the experiences that you go through when it comes to working as a team, because you got to think about it, a restaurant is huge. You have the front of the house, then you have the back of the house, then you have management. So that's something that I definitely encourage people to do, just to develop certain skills that you could utilize in your professional career. So after that, I also was a security guard, for a short period of time. Like I said, substitute teaching, did all type of age groups. I grew up with two younger sisters, so I was used to, leading younger kids. And that's something that I definitely went into. My mom is in education. So she always said, hey, have something to fall back on. And substitute teaching is something I can always fall back on, regardless of what happens in the economy. They're always going to want teachers. So that was always my, how can I say?
Plan B.
Safety net. Yeah, plan B, safety net, all that. So, yeah, just worked all the type of jobs, to prepare for what I'm doing now without even knowing it.
Wow. I love that you said that, Akira, because I say the same thing, right? Working in the service industry, especially if you're in high school, college, early on in your career, it's going to teach you those people skills, man. And that is important, especially in sales, how to relate to people, how to connect with people, how to use your emotional intelligence to, diffuse, anger or whatever it is that may be sent your way. That is very important. And something that you said early, Akira, was that you're an introvert, right? So talk about that piece of it as well too. Like, many people probably look at me and say, you know what, Antoine, you're an extrovert. And I would say you got it right, 50-50, right? If I was to when I did my Myers-Briggs assessment and, personality assessments, I was really like on the line, more like 51 introvert, 49 extrovert. But I know how to turn it on, right? And that's what's important in a professional career, especially into things like sales. And what I find myself, with my personality is this: I don't like a lot of ruckus, right? So, I was the guy that when I was in college, my freshman year, I had a roommate. I no longer had a roommate after freshman year, right? And I always lived by myself because I like to come home, have my own space, and choose when I want people around. That's how I am as a professional as well too. 18 years later after, graduation into the professional space, you was asking my wife, hey, you know what? Is Antoine an extrovert, introvert? Well, she'll say that Antoine knows how to turn it on. He knows how to turn it on. However, when he wants his peace is at home, right? By himself, nobody else around but his family. So, the introvert of me, doesn't want people around a lot of the times, and I don't want to have to deal with people, right? But, the extrovert, I know how to turn it on whenever I need to. Talk about your personality. And, you said you're an introvert. Like, where are you on the scale? You think like 50-50? You think, way more towards introvert and 30% extrovert? Talk about you as a person.
I definitely would say probably about 60% introvert,
Mm,
40% extrovert.
mm,
Um, just growing up, you see all type of things, and a lot of people can be chaotic. And like you said, once you realize that, hey, I can control my space and what's going around me, and others could come in and disrupt my peace. And once I realized that, I was like, hey, I really feel as though it's best for me to stick to myself, and have my peace to be at home as well. So I'm very, very big on having my home being my peace.
mm,
That's very, very important. I
mm,
believe home is where you can recharge and get back out into the world, and you can become depleted. But when you come back home, you get to recharge again.
mm,
So, and another thing about being an extrovert, it was one of those things where I realized, hey, I have to do it. I have to do it. I cannot be successful staying in my shell and staying an introvert. Life just doesn't work like that.
mm,
Closed mouths do not get fed, and
mm,
that's just what it is. And just going back to playing quarterback, I really appreciate my dad for pushing me into the quarterback position, because if I would have stayed the route that I wanted to go to, I could have definitely remained an introvert. But playing quarterback, I had no choice but to be vocal,
mm,
lead by not only example, but being a vocal leader as well.
mm.
So definitely had to develop those skills to become an extrovert, because I knew it would complement my professional career. But at the end of the day, I'm a true, true introvert at heart for sure.
Look at that, guys. See, we have a true introvert talking about how he has learned the skills to learn how to turn it on, but also to go on to sales as well, too. Because a lot of people say this, oh, Anton, I'm an introvert. I don't like to talk to people. Well, that's something that you can learn, you can overcome, right? And
Yeah,
when it comes down to making money, if you want to make money and you're an introvert, consider tech sales, right? You can do cybersecurity, you can do data analytics and all this other stuff, and those are fantastic. But know this, that introverts are in sales as well. The Kire is a prime example of that, right? He said he's about 70% introvert or 60% introvert and 40% extrovert or whatever it is, right? There's a place for you. One of the things, if you are a true introvert and you want to make money, you got to learn how to turn it on. You have to learn how to turn
true,
it on. And a way that you can learn how to turn it on is just like Akira said, and he said was working into lines of work that allow for you to do such a thing. Waiting, bartending, substitute teaching, being in front of people, dealing with people in their personalities, and so forth. So that's important. So we're gonna do this. Okay, right? Talk about how did you get started in sales? Obviously, you already mentioned the sales piece of it, the personal training, but then you found automotive sales, right? Talk about how you get started in sales in general. Talk about that.
okay. So I was like dibbling, dabbling, all different type of jobs, and I actually had a friend of mine who also played football. It's a common thing to see a lot of athletes. In my case, a lot of football players transition into sales,
Mm,
because I mean we have to talk all the time. We have to talk to all different types of people, and most importantly, sell ourselves. So I see a lot of people just make that transition naturally into sales.
mm,
And I mean, sales is one thing that you can learn a lot of things outside of the academia world to prepare for that role.
mm,
And just I just wanted to bring this up too. My major communications, even though it's not a very difficult major, the skills that I learned and just understanding the importance of communication and understanding how to relate to different people and make sure they understand that the message that you're conveying was very, very, very important and helped me tremendously when it came to sales.
Mm.
So my friend, like I said, old teammate, also played football with me. He was like, "Hey, I found this role. You know, it's in sales, automotive sales." I was like, "Oh, I'm not too sure about that." But I something told me just go ahead, jump in it. Because they a lot of great benefits. The pay was pretty decent at the time, so I was like, "Hey, let me just go for it, and I went for it and I stuck with it for 5 years and eventually got to management before I made my transition into tech sales.
That, I love that. I love that, Akira, because here's the thing, right? A lot of people choose not to go into sales because of their experience with automotive sales, selling them cars.
So very true, very true, very true.
So you went into car sales, right? And talk about that, right? Obviously, you got promoted, so you must have crushed it within 5 years. You've learned a lot. Talk about what that experience was like. Like because when I think about when I would say this early on in my career, when I was an engineer, just coming out of school, green, very naive and so forth, watching the movies and so forth. You think about sales being the guys with the slick hair and all they do is, want to say you something. How can I get you there? Blah, 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 upgrade you, all that extra stuff. And it's like, I always said to myself, nah, that will never be me because that is not who I am as a person. Some people can come to you and sell, the color on your skin, right? And that's what they do because they have that gift of gab and, the ability to influence you to do stuff that you don't want to do. And quite naturally, that's not who I am as a person. I'm a people person, relationship builder. You trust me, I'm going to help you succeed if you purchase from me, right? And, a lot of people are turned off from sales and car salesmen because their experiences have been terrible. I mean, I must say, even my experiences of buying cars, what you're walking into a lot of the times. And sometimes it's like a cringe. Like even when you walk onto the lot, it's like, I don't want to see you. Like, don't talk to me, right? All I want to do is look at cars and let me do my thing before you have to come over here and, talk about test drives, how much money I make and all this other stuff. I don't want to hear all that, right? I just want to see the car, right? So you went into this line of work knowing that this was quite different because, it's just different. It's a different vibe. It's a different scene.
Yeah.
What allowed for you to have success into car sales? What was different about you, Akira?
So I will say I totally agree with you. Most the expectation of used car salesmen is very sleazy and very slick people. Like you said, with slick hair. So I made sure I wanted to come in and be different because I'm obviously coming in with no hair. So I so so I wanted to make sure I was different. And also, so the company I did work for was Drive Time. The way they had everything set up was completely different and allowed me to be myself. And I believe a large part of my success had to do with people understanding that I was genuine. That was number one. So because the setup was basically you are going to be qualified for vehicles that your income and your credit allows you to be qualified for.
Okay.
So the down payments are going to set that. So it's more so I'm being an advisor rather than being a shark and pushing people. It was more so, and these are things that I didn't even know that I was developing that was going to help me in tech sales. So I had to ask those qualifying questions. I had to ask those gap questions. Ask those questions like, "Hey, what are you currently doing? What vehicle are you currently driving? What vehicle do you want to drive? How many kids do you have?" Asking all these questions. What features are you looking for? So once we take care of the financing aspect, we understand what down payments work for what. We have a handful of vehicles to choose from. After I ask these questions, find out, hey, you have a huge family. Okay, let's focus on SUVs, vans, things of that nature. You want certain features? Okay, let's not focus on older model vehicles. Let's focus on some newer model vehicles. If you want Wi-Fi in your vehicle or you want a touch screen,
Mm.
so just asking those qualifying questions, those gap questions to make sure I get enough information so I could inform the customer on the proper decision to make.
I love that. I absolutely love that you said that because, to be quite honest with you, that is the same thing that goes on in the tech sales
Yeah,
space as well. It's just a different industry. You have to ask
exactly.
the questions. You have to qualify. You have to
Yeah,
prospect. And I would almost assume too, Akire, that you had customers that you had to keep in contact with to see if they
of
wanted
course.
to upgrade and so forth. So you had a contact list of prospects that you wanted to continue to sell or upsell, or somebody to get the latest and greatest model and stuff like that from you as well, too, right?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, just like anything else, there's a lot of competition.
Mm,
A lot of
mm,
competition. So you have to constantly reach out to the prospects and be like, hey, you should come in, build that excitement,
mm,
build that rapport, so because at the end of the day, you're the only person that can convince them to come in because they have different options. At the time, we weren't the only used car dealership that had a model similar to that one.
mm.
So we had to constantly, hey, come in, check it out. We have new inventory in, the process is real easy. So basically, things that the company made sure that we could lean on to try to get customers in was very, very, very important because the competition is heavy. Just like any other software product that you're selling, competition will be there. So you have to make sure that you stand out from the bunch.
Mm, mm. And you were able to do it at a successful level to get yourself promoted to a manager. Talk about that.
Yeah.
Like, obviously you went from the floor to managing sales reps. Talk about that journey of you leveling up.
It's a very humble journey. Very humble journey. I started off, I'm very, very, very big on management and coaching. It's a lot of people out here who get these positions and they really don't take advantage of the position that they have to really develop people,
Mm,
and really care for others, putting other people up, like putting other people up front, putting them first. That's one thing I feel as though you should do as a manager or a coach.
mm,
And starting off, I didn't have that. I had it at first, but then they made a transition and brought some other managers in. And I found myself in a little bit of a slump, and then a director, assistant director, came to me and was like, "Hey, I see a lot of potential in you. All you have to do is just stick to the course, and I'm sure you'll be successful." So I believed in him. Actually, made my transition. I started off in Dallas, then I transferred to Athens, Georgia, and sight unseen. I chose the apartment online. Never been to Athens, Georgia, a day of my life. It was a brand new, brand new a brand new dealership. So I decided to go ahead and do that, and everything is history from there. So I came in, made that transition, and made it work. Stuck to it. Made sure I was a leader, and also led people on the floor, and was also somebody that the whole team could lean on, and then eventually got promoted.
I love that. I love that. You've had a journey during that stage as well too, where you've had success. You had a slump. You had to put your head down and grind it up again, and then you took the next opportunity that came your way to be a manager to help to grow people. I love that, Akira. Now we're gonna switch, guys. I want you guys to, in the audience who's watching this, because Akira has given some wonderful information about his journey, right? And ask questions. We're getting ready to jump into the transition now from car sales to tech sales. And I want Akira to talk about the parallels that's there as well, because he's been in the car sales industry for like 5 years. When I met Akira, that's where he was at. Now he's in the tech sales space, right? So talk about that. Tell people about the transition from car sales to tech sales. How did it happen for you, Akira?
It started off just being a student of the game. I was on YouTube all the time, one aspect of the job is I made sure I washed cars for my employees to help speed up the process. So I remember on Saturdays listening to your show, thinking, "Man, I can't wait to be off on Saturday so I can be at home watching." And now I'm off on Saturdays, not only watching it, but I'm on the show.
Right.
So it's a beautiful it's a beautiful thing to be able to make that transition, and manifest certain things. But yeah, it's just pretty. It's just amazing, Starting off, like I said, just being a student of the game, finding out people that were already successful within the space via YouTube, So did that. Reached out to you, reached out to some other people. Found out that you're a great coach. Decided to commit to that, and everything is history from there. You helped me, prepare me for making that transition. Went through all different type of interviews to help me prepare for the interview that I actually got hired on. So a very humble experience. Took a lot of work. Had to trust the process and stick to the process and know that it will pay off in the end.
No, that's fantastic. And I also want you to talk about this too, Akire, right? Because one of the things that you did, and I think that you're one of the fastest, you went through course careers. Talk about that. Like, when that was something that when you and I first talked, I don't even think I was partnered with course careers at that point in time.
No.
And then it came about, you and I had a conversation later on, and I was like, Akire, you should consider doing this. And you did it. And you were, I think Della had the record of 13 days, she was on the show about a month or so ago, guys. If you guys haven't had a chance to watch that interview, that was a lovely interview with Della, and she's absolutely crushing it, okay? But Akire, one of the things that Akire said to me when we had that conversation, he's like, Antoine, I'm going to get it done faster than that. So talk about your experience with jumping into a course like Course Careers, learning the skills, and then blazing the trail after that. Talk about your experience with that.
Yeah, so you weren't partnered up with them at the time, and again, this is just me on YouTube learning different things, coming across different things. I asked you about it. You just so happened to partner up with them. I believed in what you said and just stuck with it. And then, like you said, when you told me, that's one thing about me. If somebody tells me somebody did it in a certain time, I am going to make sure I do it faster. That's just that competitive aspect of me. Shout out to her. She set the bar high, but I had to make sure, I set the bar even higher. So just wanted to make sure that I went through it and did it in a fast manner, but also made sure I retained the information as well. Because I saw the value in the information, because I knew I could do the work, but it's about learning that vernacular. That's what, and being able to not only walking the walk, but being able to talk the talk as well. So that's one thing that Course Careers really provided me with, the ability to talk the talk, because that's one thing, making the transition into a new industry, everything is foreign. That's why I always agree with you about partnering up with a coach and doing all the work you need to do before you make that transition, because it is a foreign area. And the only way you learn is by partnering up with somebody who's already been successful, so they can point you in the right direction.
I love that. I absolutely love that. You said it. You nailed it. It's a foreign language. That's exactly what it is. You may come from that industry, but you speak English, right? And you may need to speak Japanese, right? And that's just what it is, right? And you are already in sales, and if you think about what you've done in car sales, it's the exact same thing that you're doing in tech sales, right? But the ceiling of how much money you can make is a lot higher. Your career growth is a lot higher. You're doing the exact same thing from, the beginning of the funnel, the prospecting, the lead generation, eventually getting to a point where you're going to be closing. You've done it. And that's where I tell people all the time. It's like, if you've done sales before, all it takes is for you to be able to speak the language. And that's something that Course Careers helps with. It gives you the fundamentals so that you can now speak the language. So you're no longer operating without knowing Japanese. Once you take course careers, you learn Japanese. And what I mean by that, guys, is,
Exactly.
you're learning the language of what it's like to be in that industry. So Akira knew the business vernacular behind automotive sales, car sales. Now, with him taking course careers, he learned the vernacular, the language of tech sales, software sales, business to business sales. Course careers, fantastic course. Jump into Akira is a student who graduated from it, got his certificate, did it in 10 days. The fastest that has done it today. I'm sure there's probably be somebody else who would go and get it done sooner than that.
Hey, kudos to them. I just made sure I set that bar higher. If they do it, just make sure you retain information.
I love it. I love it. So talk about this too, Akira. You graduate with a certificate from Course Careers, right? Now you're pumped. Talk about the transition now, because many people say this. All right, you know what? I know it. I know it. Now you got to really put yourself out there to the market. Okay. And that is a different beast amongst itself, because
it is.
Here you go. Now you're in the language, you're in a foreign country, but now you have to sell yourself. Now you have to do the work to get people to even look at you. Kind of going back to your earlier days of playing football and going to college and having to get coaches to look at you, right? To sell yourself to them. Now you have to do the same thing to people. Talk about what you did in order for you to, basically land that job, right? You knew how to speak the language. You knew how to speak the language. You then graduated. You took course careers, whatever it is, spoke the language. Now it's like, how do I get somebody to look at me? Talk about your journey doing that, Akira.
That's one thing about it. Numbers. The tech sales is a numbers game, period. So it's all about opportunities. So the more you put into it, the more you do, increases the amount of converted opportunities. So one thing that me and you spoke about was the amount of applications I had to do. So I honestly put in at least 300 plus applications. And one thing about tech sales applications or tech applications in general, they're very quick. So it's no reason why you shouldn't be able to knock out a handful in a day. It's not like traditional applications where you have to put in your background, answer all these questions. Everything is formatted on one page, so you can get through them very quickly. So that's one thing I made sure just maximize my opportunities. So applied to a whole different companies, but ended up with the best company that fit, not just fit my background, but me personally. So just putting in that work, putting in a lot of different applications, and then working through the interview process. The interview process in tech sales is completely different from any other industry, like completely different. And it's something that if you're not exposed to, you need to expose yourself to through a coach or somebody, a mentor or somebody, because again, just going back to that foreign language thing, it's a foreign language, and if you don't know how things are ran and conducted, you're just setting yourself up for failure. So the more information you have just increases your chances of success.
And talk about that, right? You've gone through interview processes before. Why is tech sales so different? And what were some of the things that you would tell somebody looking to break into this space about the interview process?
Oh, I would definitely say to understand the questions that they're going to ask you beforehand. Just preparation. Not only understanding the questions, but also going through role playing situations. Because the more you do it, the more it becomes fluid and natural and come across organic. You don't want to come through robotic, because they're going to be like, oh, he's robotic, so if he's on the phones, he's going to be robotic as well. So it's all about just being organic, making sure everything flow properly, and just preparing for the situation. So that's definitely what I would say. Practice. If you feel as though you practice enough, keep practicing and practice some more. That's definitely, preparation is key.
I would agree. I would 100% agree. But talk about also, Akira, the point of that is what selling yourself, the whole
True.
preparation piece of it, right? It's like, you
Yeah.
think about it. It's, a lot of people are asked these questions into an interview. Tell me about yourself, right? And a lot of people just go down their rabbit hole. They start talking about third grade and what they ate last night and
Yeah.
stuff like that, right? Like talk about like how you had to learn how to answer a question like that, right? Because of working with me and so forth. Like how do you had to adjust to the things that you had to communicate and appropriately speak about.
Yeah. So the thing is, and the way I phrase it to other people that ask me, is most importantly, every word that comes out of your mouth during the interview is going to either increase or decrease your chances of being hired.
Mm.
So that's just what it is, point blank, period. So if you're speaking to your value, and not only your value, but how your value could translate to the role and the company, that's what you have to do.
Mm.
Because like you were saying, if you start rambling off about, hey, I ate grapes last night, they're gonna look at you. They're gonna look at you like, what are you talking about? Like, and they're gonna say, if we hire him or her, they're gonna be on the phone rambling off about some random stuff that has nothing to do with converting the sale. So just being able to speak to your value and how it can translate into bringing that value to not only the role but the company. That's what you have to do, and
Mm.
that's just what it is. So every word that comes out of your mouth, just make sure you're not wasting your time or anybody else's.
Man, that's you couldn't have said it any better. And the reason why I'm cracking up is because I was eating grapes last night.
Hey, if you don't know, you don't know. Because when people ask that question, they be like, tell me about yourself. Well, I was born here and I did this, and it's like, okay, we're looking for how can you connect your background to this position in this
Mm.
company.
Mm. I man, you nailed it, Akira. Right? You absolutely nailed it. So now you made the transition into tech sales, right? We'll talk about this. So you had you said you fill out a whole bunch of applications. You end up going to a company, and you don't have to say the company name, but you end up going to a company that you had somewhat of a background in, right? You come from
Yeah.
automotive, and now you're in the automotive tech space. How do you think that happened? Did you research the types of companies you were applying for and stuff like that? Talk about that.
Definitely research. I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find out the company I work for on LinkedIn. So the company is called Shop Monkey, and they sell a excellent software to shop owners that basically allows them to elevate their business, make everything streamlines everything, and make sure everything is a lot more efficient.
Mm.
So I just researched the company, found out that they are one of the best out, and it just fell in line perfectly. So I was like, hey, it makes sense.
Mm.
It makes sense. So I was like, hey, it worked out. Everything lined up, and I just so happened to run across it, and it's a done deal, and I'm here now.
That's wonderful. No, that's wonderful. So now you're there now, and you talk about your experience. Right now, you're in tech sales. You're in a completely different world. You are in a startup for the most part, right? This is a
Yeah,
early stage startup. Now
yeah.
you know what tech is like, right? Talk about what it's like now that you're in tech. Talk about that.
So, one thing I will say to everybody that wants to make that transition, make sure that you're a fan of the software,
Mm.
because when you're selling the software, it will come across a lot more organic because you actually believe in it.
Mm.
That's number one.
Mm.
I definitely would say that it's a great company, a lot of great opportunities. Like with it being a startup, everything is fast paced, everything changes, on a drop of a dime. So just being able to make a shift if need be is very important. One interesting thing about the whole process of me being on the team, I realized that I'm the only black guy
Mm.
on within the whole company, I believe. So being able to being able to be a how can I say a groundbreaker. You know, I'm
Mm,
sure it might have been others before me, but I'm making sure that I'm taking advantage of that situation and really show what I can do. And like you said, just showing that I do belong.
mm.
You know, so
That's
and then
important.
also too, yeah,
Go ahead.
very important,
Yep.
very important. And then also too, you know, even though I just started, just finished onboarding, they actually assigned me to go to the SEMA conference in Vegas.
Mm,
So you know, this is my first work trip that is fully paid for. You know, so just making that transition, man. I was just in a company that just at a company that I was working a lot of hours, was not off on weekends, and didn't have any business trips.
mm.
But now I have a business trip, and it's in Vegas as well. So
That can't.
I mean, it's a great thing, man.
Well,
It's a
and
great thing.
that doesn't suck at all. That and we'll talk about this. Like the obviously you had to physically be there at the car lot, at the
Yeah,
dealership. Talk about what
yeah.
tech sales allows for you to do from the standpoint of you talked about it, not working on weekends, right? Getting opportunities to travel on the company dime, make more money and so forth. Talk about like that. Just the culture and like how much of a relief it is for you to be in the tech world now.
Yeah, my job is remote. I cannot, with me being an introvert, man, having a remote position is perfect for me, you know, because I'm self-driven, you
Mm,
know, so I don't need anybody looking over my shoulder. Hey, you doing your work? You doing your work?
mm.
You sure? You know, and my manager, he's very, very hands off when it comes to things like that. So I really appreciate that. But making that transition really changed my life. Being able to work from home has done a lot for me as an individual, and just providing a peace of mind. So I believe in remote work, and I'm very glad that I made that transition to remote work. Again, great hours. You don't have to worry about being micromanaged, especially if you work for a great company, have great managers. Being off on the weekends, like, and having a regular 9 to 5 schedule, man. Before I was working like 10, 11 to like 7, 8, 9, you
Wow.
know, in busy seasons past like 12 o'clock
Mm.
at in the morning. Like it, I'm just very thankful that I was able to make that transition, you know, and glad to be here. And I'm glad to see what opportunities come from this. And I'm just glad to be here, like
No,
for real. Now
that's
the real work begins.
the real work does begin. The real work does
Yeah.
begin, Akira. And something that you said that we laughed about, but I want to circle back to Akira say he's the only black male there, right? And you know, I laugh because many people when they get into tech, that's one thing that they notice. Right? That's one thing that they notice, especially for the young startups and stuff like that. They notice that they're, the only black guy there. There may be some black women and stuff like that, but what you also find out is as a African American or a Latino American, there's not very many people in sales, right?
No.
You got to remember that's the tip of the sword for the companies, right? So you are the best candidate for that position. They, you know, are going to pick the best candidate for that position. So you do belong. That's what I tell people all the time. Yes, you may feel like you may be the only black person there, but here's your opportunity to set the stage for others to come. And that's what
Yeah.
Mr. Akire is doing. He's going out there, he's playing quarterback. He's getting ready to score a whole bunch of damn touchdowns. They're going to be like, hell yeah, we're going to be looking at other talent that looks just like him, right? Or
Yeah.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
right? That has the same, come from the same pedigree or whatever it is that looks and that they can identify with. That's going to enhance the overall company, and not only that, enhance Akire's ability to move up and make more money. Talk about this too. One, I love to talk about money, right? How is the money different from car sales to tech sales, man?
Very different. Very different. The main thing is pairing the product with the customer. One thing about B2B sales is it's a lot more lucrative than B2C sales,
Mm,
you know, because I mean, and especially software. One thing I tell people when you look at software sales, you have a product that you don't have to buy physical materials to build. So you're saving a lot of money. So that means that the company has a lot more money, and so when you make these sales, so they you don't you have minimal investment in the product, but you have maximum profit, as opposed to other products like a vehicle. It takes a lot to buy a vehicle, and then you have to flip it and sell it. So yeah, the money aspect is completely different. It's a lot of factors that I don't have to take in consideration that I did when it comes to car sales. Like, does this person even qualify? Do they have the money? When you sell into businesses, even in the economy that we have currently, a lot of businesses do have the money as opposed to a customer when their pockets may be hurting. So a lot of people are thriving in the software industry and tech period, as opposed to people in regular retail that's selling from B to C.
I love that you hit that. I love that you hit that. You're absolutely right. B2B, it is, as companies continue to make money, they're still going to have to make some sort of investments. They may slow down those investments, especially in the, as things start to tighten, right? Maybe they say, okay, well, you know what? We need to push our IT budget out, or I may not need to do this right now. But ultimately, they're still going to eventually purchase because they're going to be behind, right? And that's the last thing companies want to do, is be behind and be inefficient, right? So that's why I say this all the time. Even in a ugly economy, sales folks, especially high performing sales folks, will still be getting paid. They will still be getting paid.
Agreed.
Akira, you hit on just about, everything from the transition, right? Talk about what's next for you, right? So you're in this position now, you're getting ready to make a whole bunch of money. Talk about like the opportunity that you see for growth at the company that you're currently in. What do you see as next, Akira?
So next, I just want to continue to move up the ranks.
And Akira, flip it the other way. You went the other way. There you go. There you go.
That's good.
That's better. There you go.
Right. But just basically moving up the ranks, just showing what I can do. Because like I said, the real work happens now. Everything, getting up into this space, was cool. And I'm glad to be here. But now I know it's really time to lock in, because my name is associated with certain statistics. And I have to make sure I have to make sure that I'm dialed in, and I have, the best statistics and the best, performance, period. So I just want to make sure I come in, be dedicated, continue to build on my craft, make sure I sell as much as possible. Once I found out about something called President's Club, I was like, hey, that's something I need to be a part of, in the period. And then it's no reason why I shouldn't be able to either, because I understand that everything is about what you put into it, the amount of dials you do, making sure that you're a product expert, making sure that you are extremely well versed on the software. So regardless of what questions or objections come up, you know how to overcome them. Always asking for coaching and management, coaching opportunities. So just making sure that I continue to develop my skill, so I can continue to rise up the ranks. So from here, going to account executive position, and just continue to move forward. So just getting higher positions and getting more pay as well. That's definitely what is on my radar.
And I can tell you this, Akira, you're going to get there. We're going to be talking in less than a year, or let's just say it's a year, right? And you're going to be like, Antoine, holy shit, man. Like, I just, what happens is, I know when people are going to be successful based on their mentality. And one of the things that you came to me with was, your story that you were able to share with other individuals in this conversation today. The mentality is a huge part of it. Knowing that it takes work, knowing that it's not going to happen overnight, knowing that you have to increase your skills, knowing that, it's about working with people, knowing you have to work with your managers, ask for coaching, investing in yourself, right? That is all of the signs to have success in almost any career. And you've had success in the car sales world, and I know you're going to have success in the tech sales world as well, Akira. And if you stay doing the same things, you're going to see that the amount of money that you thought you made in 5 years as a car salesman, even that to the manager level, good money, you're going to be able to probably do that or triple that within a year. When I'm talking about combined average, right? You think about, okay, what you did over 5 years in car sales, you may be able to do that 5-year salary in 1 year, depending on what company you're at and what product and services that you're selling. Ultimately, this is going to allow for you only to go up, right? Now that you're in the space, people are going to be like, all right, you're probably already getting tapped on the shoulder already for other roles in sales. And as you continue to go down the sales journey, they're going to be looking at you more. So you're going to have the opportunity to make more money, but your skills are going to continue to go up and so forth. So it's nothing but up going forward for you, brother Akira. Man, I am so proud of you, brother. Thank you so much for being part of the community and trusting into me, but not just trusting Akira, just like you said, man, like, you know, one of the things that I love that you said was that you listened to the advice of your father, right? And that was a huge piece of it. He said you should consider tech sales, and you ran with it, Akira. You know, watched our channel. You called me. We jumped on calls. That's one thing you said from the get-go was, you know, I'm going to do this. And I said, I know you're going to do it. And, you know, 1 minute you'll hit me up with text message, Antoine, I need to, let's have a conversation about the interview process. Let's have a conversation about, I just got an offer. Let's have a conversation about, you know, now that I graduated, what the next steps are, right? And we had those touch points along the line of the way that ultimately you did the work and you got the outcome, Akira. Proud of you, brother.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And I cannot thank you enough. Again, I mean, one thing I cannot emphasize enough on is what Antoine says about hiring a coach. He's not just saying it because that's what he does. It just makes sense. Number one. Number two, sticking to the path. Understand, trusting the process, and making sure that you have those blinders on. You're not paying attention to those to the right or left of you. Because one thing about it, somebody to the right of you might get a job tomorrow. The person to the left of you might get a job 2 days after that, and you still making your putting in applications. So it's going to happen to you when it's supposed to. And the only way you're going to speed that up is by investing not only in yourself, but investing in your career. So definitely consider doing hiring a coach. And again, I can't thank you enough.
Man, I appreciate it. I appreciate you, brother.
Pleasure.
Absolutely. Let's do this. Let's jump over to the chats real quick. You got a couple more minutes, Akira?
Of course.
Very good. I want to see if there's any questions. Guys, if you have any questions for us, leave a comment, a question in the chat. We want to be able to get to those. I'm going to hit the super chats real quick right now. We got brother Damien. We dropped this with the $9.99 super chat. We appreciate you, brother Damien. Thank you so much for joining us this wonderful Saturday. We got brother Aston in the house with a $10 super chat. He said, "Great conversation, gentlemen." Let's see what other questions that we have in here. Let's see if there's any. Okay, so F says, "Are there long-term positions? I've heard about Course Careers. The guy you're interviewing might be the same guy who was just interviewed on Course Careers channel." Yes, you're absolutely right. Akira was interviewed on Course Careers. I think that happened this week. That was dropped this week, right, Akira?
I think last week or
Very
week
good.
Before.
Very good.
It was recent though.
Absolutely. Brother Kenneth Barney's in the house. He's making his transition into tech sales as well too. He's at the Harvard of companies at Microsoft. He's a recruiter. Getting ready to make he's making his transition. He's already going through the process, and he's going to be getting to that money. Another great, fantastic individual out of Houston, who's doing some fantastic things and has had a tremendous amount of success early within his career, and he's looking to continue that within tech sales. Let's see who else is in here. Damon Weaver said, "Man, I just joined. I'm excited to pursue." That's fantastic. Absolutely. Text Tomorrow's Wealthy Today says, "It's 42 people, guys. 28 likes. Family, let's get the likes up." Yes, guys, do me a favor. Hit the like button, guys. Do me a favor. Hit the like button. Jason says, "How were you considered by employees, seeing that you had no experience in that kind of sales when you were just starting out?
So one thing I will say, a lot of companies in the tech sales space are a lot more lenient when
Mm,
it comes to transferable skills than others.
mm,
You have a lot of software companies that are ironclad on, hey, if you haven't had previous tech sales experience, don't even talk to me.
mm,
You know, that's just what it is. So one thing is about you just have to find a company that's a little lenient when it comes to having that official background and experience in tech sales. And not just that, but if they do give you an opportunity to interview, make sure you kill it and explain to them that you are capable of doing that role, even though you don't have any official experience. That's the most important thing.
mm.
And that's just to reiterate on just every word that comes out of your mouth. Make sure you take advantage of it and speak to the position and what you can bring to the position and the company.
Mm, mm. I like that you said that, right? This is another reason why I say that you need a coach. And Akira has said it a number of
Agreed.
times, right? It's a lot of times we don't know how to prepare for interviews. We don't know how to sell ourselves. We sell ourselves short when we talk about ourselves, right? You think about this interview or this conversation that we've had with Akira. Think about how much he sold himself to every individual who's going to watch this show, right? That is not humility. That's what you need to do in order for you to show that you can help a company. You have to get rid of the humility part of it and really talk about what it is that you can do for that company. It's the same thing of if you're going on a date. Same thing if you're, talking to, the you're an entrepreneur and you want somebody to work with you as a partner. You have to talk about yourself and how you're going to be able to benefit them. And that's not humility. That's learning how to speak the language, but also talk about the things that you bring to the table. And a lot
True.
of people just don't naturally feel comfortable doing such a thing, which is the reason why coaching is important, because you can work with a coach. We can talk about, the things you need to do to communicate in order for you to have an effective interview process, but also how you can sell yourself to give them the best version of you. That's a huge part of it, guys. Work with a coach to figure out how you can communicate the best version of you. Not confidence or not arrogance, confidence. Not arrogance, confidence. Be confident in who you are as an individual. And once you're able to do that and show how your skills that you have can transfer to other positions, doesn't matter if it's tech sales or not, any position, you will have doors open for you. You will certainly have doors open for you. So, guys, consider a coaching session. It doesn't have to be with me. You can join any coaching program that exists out there. If you want to work with me, obviously you can book a session through www.blkheights.com. But you still need a coach if you're going to be making a transition into tech. I think you need a coach, and you should link up with one if it's not me. We have Mr. Precise in here says, I'm in the tech space and I can attest to the lack of people in color in the industry. Absolutely. And he said he's a Mexican gentleman. I welcome you, Mr. Precise, and thank you so much for being part of the community, man. We welcome all. We welcome all, right? So, you're absolutely right, especially in sales. Especially in sales, right? In the tech space in general, you already see some of the big lack of diversity numbers from bigger companies that publish the diversity, equity, and inclusion reports. There's not very many. Now, don't get me wrong, the way how I look at it, I built a community where I see nothing but, the diversity, right? But as a country, there's not, you wouldn't consider it to be a lot, right? And then definitely not in sales. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Tev Media says, how does logistics and supply chain apply to tech sales? I'll answer that question, right? So logistics and supply chain apply to tech sales, just like any other industry apply to tech sales. If you are in the logistics and supply chain space, there's companies that sell that industry software. right? You can be part of the company selling that industry software. I work for a company that sells logistics and supply chain software. I've done that for 18 years. So we sell companies like Associated Wholesale Grocers, Food Lion, Publix, Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, HP, any of these companies that have a need for warehouse management systems, transportation management systems, workforce management systems, manufacturing planning, restricted party streaming. We do it all. So as far as logistics and supply chain, any company that sells into that industry, you have an opportunity to work for them in the tech sales space. You would just be the seller in the B2B space. That's the world that I live in, and that's the world that I've been in over the last 18 years, sir. That's also, Damon Weaver said, this is what I need to seal. I just purchased Course Careers. I am a pharmacy technician. Do most of these companies focus on your previous experience and try to find something similar in the tech sales? I would say this, you have to figure out the company that you want to work for, right? You look at your previous experience, but be able to tell a story how your previous experience can relate to the new world that you're going to be in. You have to be able to tell that story. And that's what Akira was able to do. He was able to learn the language of B2B sales by working with me and going to Course Careers and learning the language. But now he also, after that, after learning the language, he was able to communicate how the work that he did as a car salesman and a car sales manager is the same work that he's doing in the tech sales space, but just in a completely different industry. And versus it being B2C, it's B2B now. So it's business to business. Okay. So you can make the transition, Damian Weaver. Do companies look at it, at your previous experience? Yeah, they do. Right. But you should determine, the companies that you want to work for. So if you are in, the pharmacy as a pharmacy technician, you probably know a little bit more about pharmacy software. Well, maybe look at companies that sell software to pharmacies. Maybe look at companies that sell healthcare software so that you have a better chance of getting into that industry if that's where you want to go. You can go any, tech sales space if you want to, as long as you demonstrate the ability to learn. But if you want to increase your chances, go in the industry that you already have knowledge if that's, what you have an interest in. Okay? Like Akira said, like the software. Like what you're doing, right? Like what you're doing. Brother River Allen is in the house. River just got a new role himself as a IT technician himself. What's up, Brother River Allen? I appreciate you for coming in and also updating us on your journey as well, too, sir. I appreciate that, man. And congratulations on your wins as well, too, Mr. River. Let's do this. So Mia Farmer, Damon Weaver, Troy with Course Careers, breaks down the companies look for very well in the module that prepares you for interviewing. Absolutely. Course Careers does do that. Back again, Mr. Wade. I'm in the medical field and thinking of going into sales as a sales engineer or maybe a different role in tech. I have my front-end web dev and Python certs, thinking of booking a call. Absolutely. Don't think about it. Just book it. There you go. And then, that's going to be something that you accomplish in your Q4. That's going to help you for Q1. The UK's investor says most warehouses use supply chain software. Absolutely. Absolutely. They don't use spreadsheets anymore. Work Your Land says, I have a career coach. It helped a lot. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Tomorrow as well says, I took Coursera course from University of Maryland for fundamentals of tech sales a few days ago. Received a certification. I'm looking to get into tech sales now. Absolutely. Absolutely. You should apply. That should be your next position. You should apply. One Nightstand says, how does tech sales translate to the airline industry? That is a very good question. I'm assuming airlines, these companies have software that they use. Delta, if you think about it, they have software that they help people to check in, right? They have software that prints tickets. They have software that, manages the manifest of how many people are on a plane. They're not building it themselves.
They also have an app that the consumer as well.
You're absolutely right. They have a software app. You're absolutely right. Kire, you're absolutely right. So that's another way as well, right? So work for the companies that sell into Delta, United Airlines, and so forth, right? American, all these companies, they sell airline software. That's how tech sales translates to the airline industry. Mia Farmer says, men are included, men of color. When you're speaking gaps, seeing and living with what I live in the tech space, the gap between women of color and men of color being hired is greater. Focusing on closing all gaps in the goal of corporate America. I cannot speak to other countries across disabilities, race, gender gaps need to be filled. Absolutely. And I say this, right? Akira and I was talking about this. Before Akira took the jump into tech sales, and I even talked about him making the jump now, right? There's so many people that are on the sidelines, right? We got our brother, Mr. Precise, that's in here. He says it's a Mexican American. And the lack of diversity that, he sees as a Mexican, or, you may be somebody from India or China and so forth, and the lack of diversity you may see. A lot of that is because a lot of people are on the sideline, right? Yeah. They don't know what they don't know. Akure figured out his father is in IT, that IT is a space for him. His father talked to him about tech sales, that you don't need to be a technical person to be in tech, right? You can be a project manager, a salesman. You can be some sort of an analyst. You can be a consultant. You can be a manager, whatever it is. You don't necessarily need to be, technical and have certifications in order for you to have success in tech. So Akire went that direction, and it ultimately ended up in tech sales. One of the fastest growing, but also one of the most lucrative careers that you can be in. And it's a lot of money, right? So at the end of the day, the goal should be for more people to figure out and learn that there's a space for them. And right now, there are too many people sitting on the sideline doing stuff that they don't like. And they're just thinking that tech isn't for them. Well, tech is for you. Even Akira even mentioned that, his father had the certification. He's like, nah, I'm not going to go down and do the certification route, right? Yeah. But there's a space for everyone in tech. That's the future, right? You just have to figure out where that space is for you. And you can make the transition by working with a coach, right? Learning the skills, right? And putting in the work. You'll get it done. Scorpio Richard says, sorry, let me reframe that, sir. I will book a call. I'm waiting on my new webcam to come in for the Zoom call. And I don't need to see you on the Zoom call either. Scorpio, just book the call. There we go. Guys, that was the show that I have for you guys today. I want to thank Brother Akire again for coming onto the show and sharing his success story. I love to have shows like this where we are able to showcase the talented ladder climbers, but also talented individuals who have been able to make the transition into tech. Because as I mentioned, tech has a space for every one of us. And right now, there are too many of us sitting on the sidelines, missing out on the money. Let's get to the money, guys. Let's get to the money. You already know where it's at. You already know where it's at. We talk about it all the time on this channel. We talk about this in the STEM fields, the engineering fields, the sales. We talk about it. You're missing out by sitting on the sidelines thinking that it's not for you. Book a coaching session. Read more. Look at people's YouTube channels. Talk to Akire. Talk to other members. Join people's Patreon. Figure it out. Do what's best for you today that's going to benefit you tomorrow. Take action, guys. Take action. And until next time, y'all. Peace. Guys, thank you so much for joining us this weekend. Work your land, sorry. 97% done with boot camp. I'm dancing this week. I love it. One night stand salute to you. Mia Farmer, awesome. I appreciate you for joining us today. Sebastian JP, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much, Ms. Wade, for moderating the chat. And Billy Lou, thank you so much for joining us today. TCB Media, thank you so much for joining us today. Scorpio, thank you so much for joining us today. UK Investor, thank you so much. My brother Michael, crushing it, man. Getting his data analytics certifications up. Mia Farmer, yes. And it would also be great for more of us to on this call to tell you that there's space for them in the tech because tech is the future. 100% agreed. That's why this channel exists, Mia. You're absolutely right. Scorpio, I'm looking forward to you. Looking forward to talking to you soon, brother. River Allen, congratulations. Congratulations, my man. We're very proud of you, River. Congratulations, sir. One night stand. Fantastic. There's a space, there's sales for every industry. And whatever industry that you're in, there's people that's selling to that industry. And you can become one of the ones who are selling to others, businesses in that industry. TCB Media. Yes. Tomorrow's wealthy today. Thank you so much for joining us today, guys. Damon Weaver, thank you so much for the engagement, asking the questions. We appreciate you, man. We certainly appreciate you. Brother Damien, thank you so much, big brother, for the $9.99 super chat. Aston, thank you so much for the super chat. F, thank you so much for the engagement and the questions. Rashard, thank you so much. Brother Ken Barney, thank you so much for being here, brother. Crushing it. Brother Norris is in the house. I appreciate you, Brother Norris, for joining us today as well. Tech sales could be for you too, Brother Norris. It has certainly helped with the entrepreneurship journey.